Good evening. Yes, it's 11:45, and I am so grateful to be alive. Should I take my ball cap off? Yeah, it's that happy hour time, and we should be happy that the Father continues to give us light and shows us. That's what He does. He shows us the path we should achieve. Right? The path closest to the Father. To be honest and tranquil, and to be with philosophy in our hearts. And this is the reason why He gives us our daily reflections. To do unto others as we should have others do unto ourselves, right? Right. It's really difficult to know who's your neighbor and who's not your neighbor, right? Okay, the world's a big place. Hello, neighbor. So let's talk about how this degree of Sagittarius, this 23rd degree of Sagittarius, has played out, because we are not far off the path, I would say. Someone definitely had to be evacuated, and as I said, look at the Sabian symbol, immigrants entering. It's kind of like being evacuated, and that whole entire speed factor is there, right? I mean, the speed. Jupiter is the fastest moving planet. That's what Jupiter is. And holy 14,000 kilometers. 14,000 kilometers an hour. And then impact at 10,000 kilometers. I mean, this is just, it's ridiculous, right? I mean, this is how big it is, right? We've set the chart. I have set the chart for this, and we're not off at all. We could actually take a look at it when we move over to this next tab. Don't want to take all your time up. Here we are. We have the Kinzhal missile strike, 2:20 p.m. And here we are. Let's take a look at it. As I said before, to carry over from, this is why we have to track the lunar events, especially when we have such a rare time period. Look at this Uranus and Venus crosshairs, transit, opposition, Putin's first house of identity, ruled by Mars, with a Venus there, transit by Venus. And then look where Venus is going to be. Venus is going to be right across from Uranus, and her opposition is just still waxing here. And this, we're going to be able to observe this waxing of this opposition with Uranus as we witness the retrograde pattern of Mercury with Jupiter. Holy cow. I mean, this trine, is a very interesting axe kind of knife formation, right? You could call it a wedge, what you want to call it. This thing right here is just like a ship moving across the water here, right? Don't you see it? Here's Mercury in the retrograde. And you got two very important planets. And look what's happening to the U.S. Air Force. Look what the Navy is doing, right? Look at what is happening over in the Persian Gulf with what is happening with our boats in the water, and how these cargo ships are, calling it like, we're going to have to hold off on transporting goods for a little bit here. And here we got aircraft carriers moving over into this Red Sea and stuff like this. Look at this. And look at this, Jupiter and Mercury both in retrograde. And the problem is, this is the reason why this strike happened on the Patriot missiles as they are. Why is this actually happening? Because we have to look at the sun transit. The sun transit here with Mars behind him. Okay? This is what we have to look at. He illuminates. The sun's illuminating the house of Jupiter. But also what illuminates this house of Jupiter is where exactly is Jupiter right now. Jupiter's in Taurus. He's in an Earth house. Right? The missile strikes the Earth. Right? The missile needs heat. Heat is Mars. Heat is Sun. Heat is Jupiter. But they don't always get along. But what is to happen, right? We know this. I mean, the sun is in the house of the arrow. Look how the chart is. The chart is absolutely with the arrow forcing into the ground, right? And here is Jupiter and Uranus in the ground. So when you look at this, most importantly being the 12th house on the ascendant, and here's Jupiter in the sky, right? There's the ascendant. And this is Gemini, right? Gemini is buried in the first house. Look, it's a very large first house. And the planet is completely over on her side, right? This is it. And look where how all the planets are sitting in the sky, except for Venus. And as I said before, Venus is opposed to Uranus. And Venus is Putin's wallet. And Venus is everyone's wallet. But that Venus is most importantly Putin's wallet because he's got that. He's a Libra with a Scorpio rising. And with that Scorpio rising, you would have, as we can see it, right? Look, Venus is in a house that she's not completely comfortable with because it's the house of Pluto and Mars, and Venus likes it. You see where Venus does well. Venus likes it under the warmth of the sun, collecting all that chlorophyll. And right now she's in she's in the depths of Scorpio. The stinger house. That's where she is. And she won't mind. She won't mind getting over the Sagittarius and drying off a little bit, and then warming back up again in Capricorn, because that's what you do when you get out of the water. Because you're in the water, and it's getting kind of cold. It's not really for a volcanic planet. It's not necessarily where you'd like to be. And then we have Uranus sitting in a Uranus, which is an air sign element planet in retrograde as well in the Earth, and this is the reason why you have this activity happening right now at the mass of it all, like how massive the strike was, how much speed was in the strike, and once again, look where the node is in Aries. I mean, the node is moving to the apex of Aries, right? This is where the node is moving toward. So will we be at our apex in Aries? Because right now, where is the node? Because you got the first house of Aries. The first house of Aries, this is what you're going to like about this. The first house of Aries is ruled by Mars. The second house of Aries would be ruled by Leo, okay? And then the third house would be ruled by Sagittarius. And here we are. And in the next part of this, we're moving into the sun, right? We're moving into this new decant of the sun. And what is that? What is this marker where the node is? I'll have to get back to you. I haven't looked that part up. But the thing is to recognize that as I said before yesterday, looking where the moon time is, because we're here to follow. We're tracking that moon and seeing what that moon's doing. And he's just moved over Pluto. He's on his way. He's on the cusp of the sign. He's in that trade over period, and that's what it is. The missile is absolutely when the missile takes 10 minutes to hit its target at 14,000 kilometers an hour. The time period, that 9 minutes that he's in the air, at 10 minutes, because we have to realize that each degree of the zodiac takes 4 minutes to move, and that's if you've ever studied twins. Time twins are individuals who not necessarily grow up together in the same house, but they're born in the same hospital within the same 4-minute time period, and their cycles are very similar, right? So we know that when we're getting that precise moment to find out when the exact moment of the conjunction is, when I'm casting a chart, what I'm looking for when I cast any chart in the predictive sense, to see, when will this planet conjunct that planet, or when will this planet square that planet, or trine that planet at this particular location. I'm doing that with the understanding that basically that 4-minute time period is the fastest thing moving in the entire chart, right? I mean, when you're watching the moon is very quick moving when you're looking at that moon, and when you're looking at when he comes up and makes that conjunction, when that minute hand changes, you'll see that this degree is 4 minutes, right? I mean, it's a 4-minute slot, a time period. That's what they say will change the sequence of events for any particular time twin. You got some person that's born at, say, 12 o'clock in the midday at Washington, D.C., and then you have another person born at 12:06 or 12:08. That 12:08 person will completely, his life will be different. The progressions and everything, and transits and everything like this is all. It changes slightly, right? Still very similar, but the environment is very important. The absolute environment. And that's where the karma stuff comes in, right? That's why it's just impossible to repeat an individual. We're individuals. I think that's the most important thing we have to understand when we're looking at astrology, because we're looking, here I am on the other side of the planet virtually, and I'm looking at this guy. I'm watching his planets. I could get right into his psyche from looking at this events, right? Because yesterday he was talking like, you know what? U.S. is done like dinner. And the next day, this Libra, Scorpio individual was right at it, right? He's not wasting any time. He's packing it because he knows that, I mean, a person with a Scorpio ascendant, you have to understand, when there's 2 birthdays. When you look at your birth chart, there's 2 birthdays with your chart. And the one birthday is your solar birthday, right? And then there is, excuse me, please. Then there is your ascendant. When the sun crosses over your ascendant, and that's your unbirthday. I have an unbirthday of Gemini. Like it's Gemini. It's like May 21st, May 22nd. In that time period, the sun will cross over the 1 minute 55 degree position I'm at as a Gemini. It will cross over, and it says that it says in many texts that the individual's life will never be the same after that point, right? I mean, it's the young birthday, and I've noticed. I mean, I came into town. I walked into town with like $27 in my pocket, and on the third day of being here, I was the assistant art director for the printing company, right? And I worked right there with the newspapers and everything for a year and a half until I got bored with it. I mean, it's not really like I got bored with it. It's actually one part I was just working too much at one point when I was trying to ride publishing the newspaper, and then also, doing the other part of the commercial artwork for all the letterheads and business cards. The juggle both jobs. It's just becoming too much. It's a lot of stress, and plus, when you're doing the paper, you have to work extra long days because you're working through the night and stuff like this. And it's the money's fine, and I enjoy the work, but you become tired. You become exhausted, and you just things get past you, and mistakes happen and everything, and you're around a lot of moving parts and stuff like this. It's the type of work that you shouldn't really do more than 50, 60 hours a week, not the most. Holy cow. But when you get into the 70, 80-hour weeks, it just doesn't work. Especially when you have print schedules that are behind and what have you. But get back onto this chart right here, folks. We have to look at this. We have these two planets in retrograde motion. And this incident is huge, right? And Jupiter will come out of retrograde. But we have to understand this Mercury retrograde is there. And Jupiter doesn't turn direct. Jupiter doesn't turn direct until the new year. So, and Mercury is pretty much the same way. I mean, we're in 3 days into this. And we all have to look at this trine and watch this trine and remember at the same time, we have to be on top of this, that Venus is opposing Uranus. This is affecting all of us, right? This will affect all of our lives in some particular fashion, but same thing with Mercury as well, because we all have these angles in our charts, but it all has to do what is there at these positions and what houses they are in, so you could see these events happening. You could make these events less a nightmare by knowing that it's just really a lot of negative energy right now. I mean, working with a really soft backbone of two planets that are normally benefics and are sitting in reverse motion, right? It's the forward motion of Jupiter to build a monument, right? This is the best way to examine it, because Jupiter is motion, right? And there's Uranus. Uranus is the unexpected. And this is the perfect way to look at this whole entire incident. Jupiter is a lot of forward motion, right? So when this missile is launched, it's moving forward very fast. Then it hits something that is stationary, but it once was in motion. When you build like a Patriot missile system, there's motion that's sitting there, and that thing is that motion in that structure. There's actually locked motion. The lock has to be undone by the ignition switch. I can't talk tonight. The lock can't, it isn't there. It's not expecting you. It's the radar doesn't detect it. It's all these things. It's like obsolete Jupiter, right? Because people are there in motion putting this thing together so it could put projectiles into the air, but it's stationary, right? And Mercury is coming out of a stationary pattern. But the thing is, what we have to remember, getting back to all over again, is that Why is this happening to the benefit of Putin and not the United States? And the reason why is the United States is a identity that's ruled by, first it's a Cancer, but on the ascendant it's a Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Okay, and so Sagittarius's planet is in retrograde motion, so Jupiter is in retrograde. So that's why it's a negative thing, because Putin is a Libra, which has a Saturn and Venus rulership, and both these planets are in forward motion. And then we also have to look at this part right here with the node. Okay, the node, the first decan is Aries, the Sun, and then the node once again is in that third decan, which is ruled by Jupiter. And look where Uranus is sitting. Uranus is sitting in the decant of, because it's a double opposition, right, with Venus. And once again, normally Jupiter is a beneficiary, right? But he's not being a benefactor right now, because a bill is hung up in Congress or the Senate, and Ukraine is already bankrupt. I mean, and look where Jupiter and Uranus are both at. They're in the house of Venus, opposed Venus, very far from home, but she's conjunct with Putin's natal Venus right now. Ignition switch. Sometimes you have a little problem pronouncing something, right? Okay, our next chart is Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry died. I don't have his exact time when they found him here. That's another episode entirely. But here we are with an individual, and we all know his story. And on this part of the episode here, what I want to go over is his data, because it's drug related, right? Ketamine, right? And basically what we have here is his chart and then the transits of his chart, okay? By AstroWiki. So what we're looking at is very simple. We have the ascendant here, and he's got a Leo at 10 degrees. They came forward today. The moon is progressing Aquarius. Okay, the moon is progressing Aquarius very soon. And here's Pluto. Pluto is that death thing, right? And this is the 6th house right here. And here's the moon. The moon's getting ready to progress into Aquarius. But at the same time, remember that this Aquarius overlap that we have this section of is also ruled by Libra and Saturn. Because it's Libra, right? Here's the moon. And then the thing is, though, remember we have this Chiron. We should look at the Chiron, because Chiron is the bridge to the both. I mean, between both of them. Where is Chiron at today? He's hiding from us, eh? I'm looking for him. I'm sorry. He'll pop up. But when we go back here, real quick here, because we don't even need that little rock. And that's what my teacher would call them. You only need that little rock. We have to learn about these planets. These major. Let's see what we have here. Because he passed away sometime. I don't know the exact time he just passed away, but it came forward today They released this today that we should look at his 12th house, right? 12th house, he has Cancer, but we also have Venus. Okay, Venus. And why am I looking at his 12th house? Is for this connection, because as I said before in my last podcast, I normally identify Friday for. What I do is with Friday, I associate Friday with Venus and Neptune. And here, this came up in the news today. I mean, the story was like 4 hours ago or something like this. And I went through it with the, basically the drug ketamine there. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. And the 12th house is that Neptune house. The 12th house is definitely that Neptune house. And then Venus is there. And look at this trine that Venus has with Neptune. And then we have in his chart, we have a moon and Saturn opposition. See, even though it says through his life that he struggled with obsession and addiction, even though he says this, you can see the moon and the Saturn opposition, and then also you can see how this trine. And sometimes trines are hard, are soft, and such a point where how tight is this trine that he has going on here with Neptune? 25, and there's Venus at 18, right? It's a light trine, but it's that a trine like this is kind of like when you're at home in front of the television and it's your escape, right? That's what I would say that trine would be like. And sometimes this happens. This happens. What we have with these stars, and how a soft planetary placement like this could actually be negative, as it has been in his life. But you have to look also where the Venus is for what, we have to understand this transit. Here we are, the Venus has just crossed over past his moon, and this is the release of the story, and she's on her way to where his natal Neptune is, in the Scorpio house, where she's not completely at home at. And this is a great way, in all honesty, when you're looking at the individual's death. And this is the forensics. This is the part I really enjoy about event astrology. I've been in events all my life. I've done all kinds of events. I have been plays and acts. I've seen all these different things, and I've seen how one thing could go wrong, and it could change an individual's life. And just like we've just watched, 3 missiles out of the blue. 3 missiles out of the blue, and the Patriot missile system's gone just like that, just a day after someone made his speech, right? So I hope this live podcast has, I'm getting used to this, and I'm trying to get more organized with this every day, and to use last panels and to come across as directly as possible without getting sidetracked. There's always little stories around my life and my own personal observations that has brought me to astrology, and to see these events and to understand them as I do now. And it's taken all my life to really understand how important that time when something happens is when you're looking upstairs. I mean, the transits are always there. Whenever I look, I always see transits like this. And I've been told I should draw a chart every single day. It was pretty much my last message I received from my mentor, who said to me, he says, good luck, and remember to try to draw a chart every single day, just so you can see the events. The events are there, right? They're always there. We're all here on the spiritual treks, and it's all because of this Saturn thing. The time, what we write down is Saturn. When something that we must identify with, because we're all here identifying with things, and we might identify with a war, we might identify with a hockey match, we might identify with a painting or a drawing, or driving a car. I mean, we're all here identifying with things, and these things that we are pursuing, these occupations that we're fulfilling, is this Saturn thing, right? That's why the other thing I wanted to go on with this is that it's all about the Saturn 10th house thing. Look where Saturn is, and then see how Saturn is in this Pisces thing. And he was absolutely in the pool, right? And then when we're looking at the strike as well, we see Saturn again, but look where the moon is. The moon is actually just, and Pluto as well. Pluto as well has just moved in that 10th house. And then also Saturn is deep in this Uranus house of Mr. Surprise. I'm not on your side right now. I'm going to take your missiles out and show them what's about at 14,000 kilometers an hour, right? This is the world we live in. This is this Uranus thing. This is the moon progressing into Aquarius from the Sagittarius new moon, right? And remember, these things are just waxing. Look where the sun is. The moon is just moving, right? He's grooving, and he just got done hanging out with Pluto, and we have all the articles of light to just prove it, right? Look, thanks for dropping in, and I appreciate your view. And I'll talk to you soon. And believe me, there is always something more to look at. All the best to you, and God bless.